get into our first debate. Should we deport all foreign criminals? 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need to get your calls in now. Now, 1 in 8 prisoners in Britain are now born overseas, the highest number of any year since 2013. Now, according to official data released for the first time, the number of foreign-born prisoners serving time for serious violent, sexual and theft offences has surged over the past year. And incarcerating them is actually costing an estimated £580 million a year. Now, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, wants to deport the entire foreign prisoner population. You're laughing, Matt. Why?
I mean, Robert Jenrick, knee-jerk Jenrick, effectively the shadow minister, isn't he, for making social media clips go viral. He's in a desperate bid to out-reform reform. So I take little of what he says seriously, although he is, on some level, quite an effective campaigner. But this is a guy who worked, didn't he, at the heart of the British government in precisely this sort of area.
And I think was he migration minister?
He worked in the Home Office.
Immigration minister. Yeah.
I mean, he did resign, I suspect, for political reasons, for positioning himself maybe for a future leadership debate, which he lost, of course, to Kemi Badenoch. This just doesn't ring true coming from a Conservative when, as Labour are pointing out, their track record is hardly anything to write home about. But the key point here, I think, is that if you are the victim of a crime, if you are a family member of a victim of a horrendous crime, do you want people to be immediately deported? And then who knows whether they actually face justice in the country from where they came? Or do you actually want to make sure that they see at least some prison time in this country, and therefore that justice is done and the perpetrator of these terrible crimes are punished? If I were the victim of a crime, I would want, I think, to make sure that the person who had attacked me or done something terrible to me would go to prison.
Dawn, it's about 10,000 foreign criminals are in jail at the moment. It's a little bit unclear with the reporting. It's in a few of the papers today, in the Times and the Telegraph, whether these people have just simply been foreign-born or foreign nationals, but I'm assuming that quite a lot of them have leave to be here. So there's no suggestion that these people are not meant to be here. But there's also the suggestion that the reason we're seeing such high numbers are that judges will deny bail and give custodial sentences of prison sentences because they're worried that people will leave the country and go somewhere else. So that's perhaps why we're seeing so many of them in prison.
There is that aspect to it, Alexis. There are so many parts of the story. And as a former newspaper journalist, the way the story is written is not maybe giving you the full facts. But, I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at the front page of the Times now. If they had given you the full facts, they could have probably filled the whole paper. It's like born overseas. It's like, well, you know, you could have been born as a baby overseas and brought over here by your parents. So technically you're British, but you were born overseas. So we don't know the detail in what they actually mean by born overseas. I mean, you know, the way this is written, you're encouraged to think that these are people that have literally got off a boat. And that is what they want you to think the way this story is written. So putting all that aside, we don't know the full details. In an ideal world, I completely understand Matthew's point, but the trouble is our prison service is hideously overcrowded. We do know that we have a scheme where we release prisoners sort of like, you know, potentially only a third of the way into their sentence. In order to make way for other people. Supposedly, yeah, absolutely. And even though that isn't meant to be violent criminals, we do know that there are domestic abusers that have been released under this scheme and have literally gone back to their victim's house and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, darling, I'm home," that kind of thing. We know that's happened. So that sort of thing's horrific. So, yeah, I understand Matthew's point, but in the great scheme of things, taking all the other bits and pieces we're not quite sure about into account, yes, I think prisoners, if we can return them to their country of origin, should be returned. But there's so many countries we can't return them to. And then you've got to take into the lawyers getting involved and the fact that it will probably never happen.
But also, just let's look at the stats, because stats, as you're suggesting, can be used, they can be manipulated. What are their lies, damn lies and statistics?
Yeah,
you have to be really careful with statistics. And I think you did a bit of research before we came on air, didn't you?
Well, you weren't going to, were you?
That suggested, I think, that 16% of our population is foreign born.
It's foreign born,
and
yeah.
12.5%, if our maths are correct, of the prison population are foreign born.
Yeah.
I think foreign born rather than foreign, because there's a difference between foreign born and foreign. You can be foreign born, as you've already pointed out, and become British. So in other words, if these two stats are correct, that 16% of us, this is the UK, 16%.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But in England and Wales, the prison population consists of 12.5% foreign-born people. Well, then actually the headline starts to melt away a bit. Now, of course, if you come to another country, you could argue that there is a particular onus and responsibility of you not to commit a crime because you are, at least when you arrive, a guest in that country. And of course we should be deporting people to other countries if they come here as adults. I'm just saying that they should serve at least some of their time, which is what happens here. Sure. They don't serve necessarily all of their time. No. Serve some of their time here before they get deported.
OK. Well, look, let's find out what people are saying at home. Trevor is waiting on the line to speak to us from Bournemouth. Trevor, welcome to the show. What do you think? Do you agree with Robert Jenrick?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I think, to be fair, all foreign criminals should be deported back to where it is they came from. It's costing us an awful lot of money to keep these prisoners in prison. They're releasing prisoners early for whatever reason, I don't know.
Well, it's overcrowding, Trevor. We came down to like the last few hundred places in our prison system with a backlog of thousands waiting to go to court. So we don't have that much space left. But, Trevor, at the moment, the law is 12-month sentence triggers an automatic deportation. But, of course, the people can appeal that. So I suppose that's what Dawn's been saying, that you can get stuck into courts. But what about if people are foreign-born but have a right to be here? What do you make of Matt's point that the victims want to see justice? If you send them back to somewhere, they might not face that justice for the crime they've committed.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I just think personally, this is just my personal opinion, is that if no matter who you are, if you commit a crime, you should do the time.
Yeah.
But I do think that the amount of foreign prisoners we have in this country is kind of over the limit. I don't understand why we are having to pick up the bill to put a foreign-born prisoner in our prison when you could just deport them.
Trevor, let me try to explain that as I understand it, and I could be wrong. But you and I agree that if you've done the crime, you should serve the time. If there are no guarantees that the person who assaulted you or assaulted me, if they are deported immediately before going to prison in this country, if there are no guarantees that they will see time overseas, then that person has done the crime to us, but they have not seen they've not done the time. They've committed the crime, but not done the time.
I kind of understand that. Do you know what I mean? I understand where you're coming from on that, Matt, to be fair. But I just think that, I don't know, it seems like we're kind of putting people into prison who are, what do you say, foreign born.
Yeah. But Again, that term is. I hear your point, and you made that point earlier. That is costing up to 580 million for the British taxpayer. So I get your point, Trevor. Thanks for kicking us off. Let's speak to David, who's in the Wirral. David, welcome to the show. Do you agree with Robert Jenrick?
I do, but I think he's just using sound bites, just to make a headline. I mean, the amount of sound bites that you get from Labour on all sorts of things is, they make the noise and don't actually do anything about it. I mean, from what I understand, it costs somewhere in the region of £50,000 to keep a prisoner in prison a year.
Yeah.
And I think once they do a crime, they lose the right to be in this country, no matter how bad it is to send them back to their country. They do a crime, they lose the right.
Well, again, I'll repeat, the law is if you get given a 12-month sentence, that automatically triggers deportation. Now, of course, there are appeals that can happen. So the law does say that if you get a 1-year sentence and you're a foreign national, that triggers deportation. But you would like to see people that are born outside the UK but who have the right to live here and work here. If they commit a crime, you think that we should send them back to their country of origin straight away?
Absolutely. Well, no, I do accept the point that, if you give them a 12-month sentence or a 2-year sentence, they should be made to serve half the sentence. But they should be made to serve it in hard labour, not any easy time in prison, watching Sky Sports or stuff like that.
I'll tell you what, David, you don't want to go to prison, mate. The number of prisons in this country that are not in a satisfactory state is about 50%. And honestly, it's not somewhere I would ever want to go. I don't want to share a cell with another bloke for 23 hours a day in some cases, in really awful conditions. I mean, they get rats in some of these places. The idea that you're watching Sky Sports and putting your feet up, I mean, that is just a total fantasy. It's a myth, mate.
Well, I tell you what, however bad it is, they deserve it for breaking the law.
OK. All right. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you, David. Look, after the break, we're going to be taking more of your calls on whether we should deport all foreign criminals. As Robert, your calls on whether we should deport all foreign criminals. That was what Robert Jenrick is calling for after stats show that 1 in 8 prisoners in Britain were born overseas. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. John has been waiting patiently to speak to us from Dorset. John, welcome to the show. Do you agree with Robert Jenrick?
No, I don't. I don't think you should be sending all foreign criminals abroad, very simply because if you remember Afghanistan, when they worked for the British government and military, when the Taliban took over, a lot of them fled, were given British status.
Yeah.
So for argument's sake, if they commit a crime here, say a fraud crime, and they get 5 years, do we send them back there to be beheaded or shot? No, I don't think that's right. I do agree, however, illegal coming across the boat, or if you want to call it illegal, but I know they're struggling as well, but they have come over uninvited. Yeah. If they commit a crime, they should be sent back to another country or back home. Yes.
John, can I just say on your point about people who commit crimes from dangerous countries? Well said, if I may say so. I mean, if you look at so much of the media in this country at the moment, that would appear to be an unpopular view. But I suspect millions and millions of Brits would agree with you that if you commit a crime and you come from somewhere incredibly dangerous, run by the appalling Taliban, then of course you have to be punished, and you should be punished properly, but be punished in this country, not sent back to Afghanistan. And I'm not even sure we can deport people to Afghanistan at the moment anyway.
No, you can't.
But well said to you, John in Dorset, on that point.
Hold on a minute. There are 2 nationalities who are 20 times more likely to account for overall sexual offence convictions than British citizens. That's a fact, OK?
It's not a fact.
It is a fact.
No, it's an interpretation of statistics,
No.
It is.
That's from the Centre for Migration Control.
Yeah, but that is a think tank that wants to reduce immigration. This is an interpretation of figures.
No, this is data that show 40% of people charged with sexual offence in London are now foreign offenders. OK, look, we can quibble over the actual percentages, but it is statistically more likely. Afghans are more included in this group, OK? And one of the countries we can't send people back to is Afghanistan. Okay. So they're going to stay here no matter what happens.
Well, they're going to go to prison if they commit crimes, and rightly so.
Yes, of course they are, but they're not going to be sent back to Afghanistan.
Someone like John and I in Dorset, who don't want people to be sent back to places they might be beheaded or tortured, doesn't mean we're in favour of sexual predators or murderers.
No one said you were.
No, but that's how people on my side and John's side of this debate sometimes get cast, as if we're trying to sort of support foreign criminals. Okay. Of course we're not. Criminals should go to prison.
All right. I'm going to pause there. John, thank you. Jane's in Derby. Jane, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Well, I think all foreign prisoners who commit a crime over here should be deported.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm also calling is my husband was born in the UK.
Yeah.
He was adopted and taken to the States.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, as he grew up, he was a bit of a naughty boy, got in trouble with the drugs and that sort of thing, and he was deported back to the UK. in 2003 because of he'd been caught with drugs. So if America can do it, they can send people back. My husband knew nobody over here when he came back. All his family were in the States.
OK, so here's a question just off the back of our previous caller, John, and what Matt has been saying. So the US sent your husband back to the UK, a safe country. Would you support doing it? Because you said you agree with Robert Jenrick. What if you said someone here who was convicted of robbery, for example, who was born in Afghanistan, would you send them back to Afghanistan where they might face a lot more than just a simple prison sentence?
Well, yeah, they did the crime. They should be punished for it no matter what. If they rob somebody over here, they do time over here and then send them back. It's their fault. If they want to do the crime, it's their fault, isn't it? Yeah, they shouldn't do the crime, should you? You know?
Matt?
So, sorry, Jane. So let's say that your husband was an Afghanistani, an American Afghanistani, and he went to America as a child. He committed a drugs offence in America, and he was then sent back, in inverted commas, to Afghanistan, where he was then beheaded for having been involved in drugs. You'd support that, would you? Because it was his fault for doing some drugs.
It is his fault for doing the drugs. He knows that.
So would you'd presumably be someone who brings back the death penalty into this country? Would you like to have torture in this country?
This is a moot point because we don't have a...
I'd love the death penalty back.
So we don't... Yeah, well...
You would, you said. Jane?
Yes.
OK.
Torture?
Well,
we don't have to go there.
Well, they've got torture in some countries, haven't they?
At the moment, Alexis.
Sorry, they've got torture in Afghanistan, haven't they? Look what they do to women in Afghanistan.
This is a moot point, Matthew, because we don't have a deportation treaty with Afghanistan. No one is going to get sent back to...
People want us to, though, don't they? People would like us to do that. So it's not a moot point because a lot of people, or certainly some people in this country, would preside. We've heard it.
It's not going to happen.
OK, look, I want to bring this to an end. Jane, thank you all for your calls on this lovely start to our...